Hello, everyone. Good evening. I am super excited that you are here tonight. Welcome to EDTalks. We are really happy that you're here. My name is Amanda Kunchbahari, and I am going to be your host for tonight's event. My pronouns are she and her. And EDTalks is presented to you by Achieve Twin Cities. They were formerly known as Achieve Minneapolis, and they do this in partnership with the Citizens League. I want to give a huge shout out and congratulations to Achieve, who has formally changed their name this week and also launched a brand new website at achievetwincities.org. So I hope you will check them out. Tonight, I'm coming to you virtually from Minneapolis, Minnesota, our Minnesota Makoche. This is the homeland of the Dakota people. And it's really important for us to recognize that unless we are Indigenous Dakota, we are on stolen land, taken through an unauthorized and illegitimate treaty in 1805. We celebrate and honor the cultures and contributions of the original inhabitants of this land, who are such vital members of our community. I ask that as we gather here tonight, that we keep this history and the land in mind. So I'm super excited for the presenters and speakers that we have here tonight with us. We have Walter Cortina from Bridgemakers, Minnesota, Kyra, Jamya, and Octivious from YouthPowerMN Minnesota leader, St. Paul Youth Services. All of the young people here tonight are going to share a little bit of their personal stories and experiences with our adult-centered education systems. So we have a ton to learn from them, and I'm really eager to get started. But before we start, I do have a couple of housekeeping items that I want to get to. And first and foremost, I want to thank our generous sponsor, Bush Foundation. They have supported this program for many, many years, and we are incredibly grateful for their longtime partnership. So thank you. We also pre-record both of the talks for tonight's event. We want to make sure that our technology is working smoothly, so that helps with it. But I am also really happy to say that our presenters are actually here with us tonight, so we will be doing an actual real-time live Q&A. So I do hope you'll stick around after the talks. And I do ask that you submit any questions that you have in the Q&A chat function. You can see it on your screen there, and it's right below if you bring your cursor down your screen. So again, please feel free to send in questions as we go along tonight's presentation. I also want to encourage you to engage with us on social media. So you can use the hashtag EDTalksMN and post about what you're hearing tonight and highlight the incredible presenters that are going to be with us. And again, the event is recorded, so I just want to make sure that you know that all of the events that EdTalk, Achieve hosts, they are found on their website. So you can go to achievetwincities.org /EdTalks, and you will be able to find all of the talks there and ones from previous times ago. So there's a ton there for you to get into. So finally, let's get started. I am going to be introducing our first speaker, Walter Cortina. Walter is a graduate of high school for recording arts and has demonstrated his leadership skills at the 2019 Student Conference, the Bush Foundation's 2020 Learning for Equity event, and the 2020 Teacher Powered Schools National Conference. His internship at Minneapolis Foundation helped him launch Bridgemakers, Youth Leading Change, and its Minnesota Young Champions project in partnership with Youth Prize. He currently serves as the co-founder and president of Bridgemakers, which is a holistic, civic, social, and financial capacity building platform which amplifies the stories and mentors the leadership of Black, Brown, and other under-resourced youth. Walter, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful night. My name is Walter Cortina. I am the son of two immigrant parents. I am currently 19 years old, and I was born and raised in the south side of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I also currently serve as CEO of Bridgemakers, a youth-led nonprofit. That brings us to the topic of my speech. I will be speaking about how Bridgemakers is focused on bridging the gap between under-resourced youth and economic, social, and educational opportunities as we elevate young people's voice to break cycles of poverty, miseducation, and violence. Before I dive into my work, I first have to share with you all what brought me here. I would love to share with you all in depth about my story and why I care so much about the work that I do. When my parents moved to Minnesota in the late 90s, they lived near the Native American projects Little Earth in South Minneapolis. Being the very curious young kid that I was, I always paid close attention to my surroundings and my environment. I was raised learning about the Native American culture with having friends and even some of my parents' friends being people from the Native American projects. I learned about the oppression that was brought to Native American people and the genocide that took place. Also, through school, I learned about the African American culture in addition to the deportation of my own Latinx people. All this gave me the drive to want to be able to make and bring change within my life, even if it wasn't in such a major way. Yes, I was very young, but it doesn't take rocket science to notice that these cultures of people needed help and better opportunity for a better life. Little did I know what life had in store for me. In addition to the environment I was raised in, I wanted to emphasize two very critical life-changing events that I went through. When I was about 8 years old, my father had been deported back to Mexico, to his hometown in Mexico. My mother, now a single parent responsible for taking care of 2 kids, was shocked to find out that she was pregnant with another boy a few weeks after my dad had been deported. Another boy, wow, 3 in a row. I had to watch my mother struggle to raise her kids as she would barely be able to take care of herself. I have to be honest with you, this brought more motivation to me to want to make something of myself growing up. A few months after I had turned 13, my mother, who worked so hard to maintain us over the years since my dad's departure, was finding herself in the same situation, being deported back to Mexico. When my mom was in the transition of leaving, she had asked me if I wanted to stay or if I wanted to go with her. Knowing that America had better opportunities for education, I had decided I wanted to stay with my older brother and take care of myself. My mom was reluctant to leave me alone at such a young age, but she had a lot of belief in my potential, in what I can become through being here in the land of opportunities. Not gonna lie, my older brother and I faced a lot of hardships as we struggled to pay rent for the townhouse my mom had left us to live in. We slowly lost the heat, the lights, and even the warm water. Long story short, we lost the house and were being evicted because we weren't able to pay our rent. My brother and I were couch hopping as we were figuring out where to stay. We talked with some relatives and they were able to provide some housing for us. My older brother went with one of my mom's sisters and I went with another. Shortly after moving in with my auntie, she got breast cancer. With her treatment, she was unable to work, thus not being able to pay the bills. With this sticky situation, I had to step up and work to help maintain us as we were going through hard times. Sadly enough, my mother also got breast cancer around the same time. I was 14, working 2 to 3 jobs as I was going to school full-time, trying to maintain myself and my family. As you can guess, all this added to my previous stress and situations in life. I had started to build up a lot of anger and sadness, a strong urge in the sense to want to voice my situation and hoping to receive support to be able to change the way that I and my family were living. More importantly, I wanted to do something about the future generation of my family, especially for my little brother. I wanted to make sure that I would be able to get to a point in life where I would be able to help myself and other people going through similar situations to what I was going through. Whether it be to create a business, an entity, a project, or whatever, I just wanted to make sure that I would be able to do something. In my freshman year of high school, I was at a very unique school. It's actually down the street, so shout out to Venture Academy. Fate loves irony, right? Anyway, throughout the year, I had worked with a great mentor of mine who was the director of the school at the moment. Also, shout out to John. To work with other youth in the building on speaking to the administration about being more youth and student-centered. Over the time, we worked with our teachers and our principals to have a plan for the following year on how to potentially improve our school to be more for youth. At the end of the year, we presented to the board of directors and they welcomed a few of our suggestions to improve the school to be more about the youth. At the end of the day, that's who it was for, right? This experience gave me the opportunity to have a taste of what it meant to use my voice for change for the first time. With a lot of tragedy going on in my life at the time, having a say in how I spent 5 days of the week, 8 hours a day, really was important to me, especially due to not being able to voice my opinions on other life situations. Fast forward to my junior year in high school, I had transferred to the beautiful high school for recording arts. Learning about the school being very student-centered and about project-based learning made me want to transfer schools. I had still been working on my dream of creating something for the youth to be able to voice their opinions as I did in my previous school. I had decided I wanted to bring over similar work to what we were doing at Venture. The team and I decided to call the work Changemakers. Skipping to the end of my junior year, my education, along with millions across the world, had been affected by one of the biggest tragedies that the world had seen in many decades, the coronavirus pandemic. This brought me and my family such stress and bad situations as it did to many across the world. I lost my job at the car wash that I was working at that was helping me pay my bills. I was afraid and scared to think about how I was going to take care of myself along with maintaining my family. I had learned about unemployment benefits and possibly being able to receive access to some support. As I was filling out the application, I was turned down because I had been enrolled in high school. This was very disappointing as I was hoping to have support for myself and, as I mentioned, my family. It so happens that I wasn't the only one in this situation. As the pandemic was getting worse and worse, many other young people in high school were also losing their jobs. Looking for the support, they also signed up for unemployment benefits and were quickly denied. I noticed this from my peers and my classmates at school. With needing to make money and ends needs, my mentors advised me something I will never forget. Never let a crisis go to waste. They advised me through my changemaker work and just in general to gather stories to fight and help advocate for unemployment benefits for high school students. This ended up being the biggest blessing. A team of other young people and I started talking to organizations in the community that supported youth work in hopes to find allies and financial support for our work. We got major support from major organizations in the community, including Youth Prize, the Children Defense Fund, and Project for Pride and Living. With the support from these organizations, we were able to form a coalition and start a political campaign to advocate and fight for youth voices at the Legislature. We began receiving news article coverages with one article from another, eventually being featured in the New York Times and the Star Tribune. Partnering up with the Great Youth Prize, who had just had their 10-year anniversary, shout out to Woki and Marcus, we led a campaign to bring $30 million in unemployment benefits to be dispersed to about 20,000 young people through the state of Minnesota. Having an advantage of being at a school like the High School for Recording Arts gave me the boost and the opportunity that I needed. It gave me the chance to be able to take time away from my traditional curriculum and to be able to focus on outside project work and to be able to be credited for it and work towards my graduation. I want to emphasize this point because if it wasn't for the flexibility and the opportunity within my education, I am not so sure that the unemployment campaign would have happened. Shout out to the High School for Recording Arts and student-centered learning. With youth voice being the main power that drove us across the finish line, the young people on my team and I decided we wanted to continue our work and do much more with the opportunity and momentum we had after suing the state. With that, we decided to found Bridgemakers nonprofit. Since the beginning of our work, my team and I, being the community that we serve, have made a lot of progress. Not only did we win a lawsuit against the state of Minnesota for $30 million, but we changed a 90-year-old law that prohibited high school students from receiving those unemployment benefits. We raised a total of over $1 million for our efforts. We have been working with other schools and their students to improve their own education. We have led national workshops such as the ones at the Bush Foundation last year, and we will do the same this year. We have launched an entrepreneurial fellowship for 4 youth in our community and have helped them advance their work. I share all this to say my story obviously didn't start with me being able to use my voice, but through the power of having a stage and the opportunity to speak, I was able to shape and change the future of my life. Many young people go through so much in their day-to-day life. There are a lot of systems in place that affect us and take a huge toll on how we view the world. I want to share with you all the theory and the concept I take away from a very legendary rapper, Tupac Shakur, Thug Life. The hate you give little infants F's everyone else. This means how we treat, help learn, and show the world to young people affects everyone. I very much believe in this concept because depending on how we grow up, it strongly shaped how you will impact this world. If a small group of youth in Minnesota was given the stage and support to elevate their voice and were able to sue the state and change the law, then imagine the countless opportunities and life-changing solutions we are losing every day by not giving and allowing youth to use their voice and share their stories. I truly believe that if we were to enable and empower young people to voice their opinions and fight for change, that the world would be much more prepared to serve the future generations. Bridgemakers and I want you all to join our movement in fighting for youth voice and community change. We may be thinking, they are too young, they can't make a decision on that. But that is the same thinking that has caused some of the major barriers that youth are facing on their path to success today. Nothing about us without us is our saying at Bridgemakers. Let's all work together to listen to and voice the youth stories and opinions, to put the youth at the epicenter on helping shape their futures. I promise you all this world would see a much greater and larger impact being led by youth. We at Bridgemakers have proven it and will continue to do so. This year, we are looking to launch a national summit to spotlight youth voice and bring awareness to all the work that we have done over the past year. We hope you all can be a part of this journey and helping shape the future of our youth. Thank you all for your time today. I hope you all have learned something from my speech. I aim to share wisdom and knowledge as I walk through this earth. Please feel free to reach out to us on our Instagram at BridgeMakersMN. And you can contact me directly through my LinkedIn at Cortina. Shout out Achieve Minneapolis and EDTalks.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Thank you so much, Walter. You've just done, and everybody has done some incredible work. So just want to thank you so much for that and for sharing about your experience too. So appreciate you. I do want to remind folks that we do have the Q&A chat function. So feel free to drop any questions that you have there. And I want to introduce our next speaking group from St. Paul Youth Services. So I'm going to be introducing Kyra, Jamya, and Octivious, who are participants in the St. Paul Youth Voice Services YouthPowerMN Leadership Institute, an organizing hub where Black youth are compensated for their intellectual capital, lived experiences, and contributions to improve our communities. Youth gather here to reflect, express themselves, build skills, organize, and advocate for serious change on issues that affect their lives. Kyra is a 12th grade student with interest in education equity, learning styles, and digital media. Jamya is in 11th grade and is interested in housing equity, criminal justice, wealth equity, and learning styles. And Octivious is in 12th grade and interested in criminal justice, critical race theory, and youth as decision makers. Take it away, y'all.
Thank you, Amanda. Welcome to EDTalks. We are SPI's Youth Power Leadership Institute, and our motto is kids change the system versus systems changing kids.
The 2021 to 2025 strategic plan unapologetically reimagines a world where Black youth feel loved, safe, and free. This is detailed in our mission and vision.
Let's say, yeah, our SPI's ed values, and we want to highlight the values that we focus on as youth leaders. My favorite value is recognizing youth versus ourselves work.
My favorite SPI's value is promote high expectations with high support.
My favorite SPI's value is respect families as loving experts.
And it's time to get loose and have a little fun before we show what we got, before we show what we know. Kyra, would you rather do your own stunt in an action movie or have a stunt person do it for you?
Honestly, I do my own stunts because I want to have fun. Like if I was in Flash, I wouldn't want to run on the buildings upside down, jump over cars, because I'm energetic. So why would I want somebody else to do my own stunts? Jamya, let me ask you the same question. Would you rather do your own stunts in an action movie or have a stunt person do it for you?
I'd rather do my own stunts in an action movie because it's my, it's my stunts, it's my movie, and I want to get my, all the credit I can get rather than having somebody else get credit for doing something for me. I'll just do it all by myself. Okay, here's a different icebreaker. Octavius, look at your phone and tell us your most used emoji.
Well, my most used emoji is that I don't know emoji, and it's always good like this, and I like it because I never know.
The work is always more fun when we have fun together.
Here are the 3 pillars of our Youth Power Leadership Institute.
Stories have to be told or they die. And when they die, we can't remember who we are or why we're here. Sue Monk Kidd, author, The Secret Life of Bees.
I am Jamya from Minnesota. I am from making Thanksgiving dinner with my grandma, from collard greens and banana pudding. I am from Black people. I am from Q6 and loves, from R&B and cookouts. I am from loving and believing in yourself. In order to lead without apology, I must speak from experience. I am Jamya Q6.
I am Octivious, though, from the son of the name. I am from Liberia, where the sun shines every day. I am from the land of fufu and soup, from the rice and greens. I am from the Bassa tribe, where the people sing songs every day and give thanks to the Most High. I am from TG, aka Toga. I am from TG. Liberia, Monrovia is home, and Colloquial is our everyday language. I am from Christianity, waking up at 9 o'clock to go to church. In order to leave without apology, I must focus and pay attention.
I am Kyra Bester from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I am from Family Sunday dinners and Cinnamon Toast Crunch pancakes, from Pineapple Upside Down cakes. I am from beautiful Black African American people. I am from Kirsten Hughes and Jesse Bester. From hip hop and jazz, I am from excitement and joy. In order to lead without apology, I must stay firm and strong. I am Kyra Bester. The 3 core takeaways we want you to remember are, number 1, Black youth are leaders and change makers whose expertise should be valued, sought out, and compensated.
Number 2, creating youth-centric, equitable education systems require truly listening to youth.
Number 3, there are proven and practical ways to improve outcomes for Black youth and youth of colors.
Octavious,
oh,
why
thank you.
did you choose to come here today? And what did you think when you were asked?
I choose to be here today because I want Black youth voice to be heard, not just here, but everywhere. Young Black youth never get heard, and then we get misunderstood. Like, for example, a youth walking around school mad just don't assume things. Talk to them, because we be needing to talk sometimes. I'm speaking from my experience and for other youths and for other things my age. We respect family and adults outside as loving educational expert, because we look up to adults to show us the way. We are young entrepreneurs, young Black business owners. They say they said the kids are our future, but how can we be the future if we don't got nobody that listens to us, not just telling us what to do, and not just telling us what to do and what is best for us. We know our left and right, but sometimes we need directions, and that's in direction and understanding. That's where y'all comes in. Jamya, if you could change one thing about how young people are treated by adults at school, what would it be?
If I could change one thing about how young people are treated by adults at school, I would have changed how adults kind of assume that young people don't know what we're talking about or what we're trying to say. When a teen or a young person is trying to explain themselves or even tell an adult what's right, an adult will brush it off or just assume that the youth don't know what they're talking about. In my own experience, it has happened multiple times, and instead of taking what I'm saying into thought, adults would rather question how I know what I know or try to make it seem wrong. Kyra, I'll ask you the same question. If you could change one thing about how young people are treated by adults at school, what would that be?
Jamya, I want teachers to be more respectful, to understand our experiences, that we are high school students, instead of gossiping about students. I've seen it myself in my school that teachers talk to other teachers and students about other students' hygiene or personal business. In my opinion, it was inappropriate. It made me feel embarrassed for the other student and feel bad inside for the other student too. And if they knew that some of their words can be hurtful and inappropriate to other students, they wouldn't be doing that.
As spies, we amplify youth voice, empowered to contribute to our community. Now let's talk about assumptions. Things that are accepted as true without proof. Kyra, what assumptions do you think teachers and school staff make when they see you? And what makes you believe that?
Honestly, the assumptions people make about me is that I'm shy and a quiet person. I only be in school quiet and stand to myself with my headphones on while I'm doing my schoolwork. But if they talk to me just, they will know that I'm not a shy person. I'm an outgoing person. I'm a youth leader. I want to create my own recreation center for youth. I travel to 5 different states. But if they just talk to me one time, they'll know that's not the truth about me. Octivious, I'd like to know what you think are some of the most common reasons adults don't ask for young people input. What are adults afraid of? What would you tell an adult today to encourage them to create a more youth-centric classroom or education system?
Well, Kyra, I think adults don't ask for young people input because they think we don't know better. We cannot make better decisions than them because they are adults and we are young people. We need to stay in a young people place. They are afraid of the truth. They call it disrespect. Scared to be corrected by young people. I encourage adults to ask for young people. I encourage adults to ask for our opinion because it's important, just as an adult opinion. Jamya, let me ask you the same question. What do you think are some of the most common reasons adults don't ask for young people inputs? What are adults afraid of? What will you tell the adults today to encourage them to create a more youth-centered classroom or educational system?
One of the most common reasons I think about is just adults being afraid of change. They don't want to hear an opinion that might be different than theirs and that may change their everyday way of thinking. Adults are afraid of things being different than what they're used to doing and their ways of acting. I would tell an adult to just be more open to young people's thoughts. Don't do whatever young people say, but take their ideas into mind and actually think about them.
There are teachers, school staff, and schools who get it right. This is important to know. This is important so we know it's possible. Jamya, can you identify school program and or teacher staff who gets it right? What does it look like? What does it feel like? How can we get more people to take on those behaviors and actions?
Miss Jones is a teacher that gets it right. She was my 7th grade math teacher and my step teacher. She gets it right because she never let me doubt myself when I was going into my first accelerated math class. She always finds the best way to encourage kids, and she is a lot of kids' favorite teacher, so she has to be doing something right. An adult that gets it right is an adult that isn't just looking for wrong all the time. An adult that actually cares about the youth they are around and isn't just there for their own benefit. We can get more adults that get it right by adults realizing that all kids are not the same. I understand that some teachers may be teaching a whole class, but some youth have things that they need individually to make sure they are motivated and doing the right thing. Same question for you, Kyra.
I think a teacher named Miss Jackson, the social worker, gets it right. Miss Jackson is the first social worker in my high school experience I actually talked to because she's energetic and outgoing. Getting it right is truly showing respect to the high school students. She makes sure everyone is mentally and emotionally right for school and life. She makes sure she give out care packages to help other students that's in need of help or having hygiene problems. It makes me feel awesome in the inside and out to know that someone actually cares about the young adults. She takes her job very, very serious and do more than her job. I think we can get more people to take on Ms. Jackson's behavior if they knew how they make students feel and knew that it's very heartwarming to be so caring. Octavious, can I ask you the same question?
Yes,
Can
you can.
you identify a school, classroom, program, or teacher and staff who gets it right? What does that look like? What does it feel like? How can we get more people to take on those behaviors and actions?
Well, Kyra, I feel like High School for Recording Arts gets it right because they understand that students, their staff, and teachers are respectful and they treat everyone, no matter who you are, what your nationality is, or sexuality. They tell that every young ones are the future and their action shows. For example, they let all young people advocate for themselves and take on their own responsibility, like being responsible for your own graduation, coming and going whenever, because they understand that young people needs education, but also has daily jobs to get to give. They give you that opportunity where you can be most comfortable at.
The 3 core takeaways we want you to learn are: number 1, Black youth are leaders and change makers whose expertise should be valued, sought out, and compensated.
Number 2, creating youth-centric, equitable education systems require truly listening to youth.
Number 3, there are proven and practical ways to improve outcomes for Black youth and youth of colors. We say we'll do whatever it takes to end racial disparities.
Does that mean changing our own practices?
Achieving equity will require us to make thousands of different decisions every day, from how we interact with youth to policies, funding, staffing, data, culture, and more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all so much for that awesome presentation. And a quick shout out to you all. Andrea from World Savvy would like to work with you. So we can definitely exchange contact information and make sure that you get in touch. So now I want us to turn over. I'm going to invite our panelists actually to come on, and we're going to do the Q&A function of this evening. So I'm super excited about some of the questions that we have. And again, reminder to submit your questions via the Q&A chat function at the bottom of your screen. But if we can get our panelists to turn on their videos and unmute, awesome. Yay. We're waiting on 2 more people. All right. Octavious. All right, there you are. See you now. Perfect. Well, first, I just want to say thank you all so much. You had fantastic presentations and just so much rich knowledge and information that you shared. So really, really appreciate you. My first question, I actually want to ask all of you this, and maybe Walter, we can have you start, but what would you say to an adult who wants to start centering youth voice in their personal or professional lives? So what advice would you give to somebody?
I would just advise them and push them to step out of their out of their comfort zone, their box. I feel like a lot of times there's a lot of expectations, a lot of norms set on young people and how we are supposed to use our voice, where our opinions matter, where they don't. But to the sense, I would just encourage to throw a lot of that out the window in the sense of being very open-minded to understanding the difference in the way that people live, and the difference of maybe from their time to like how time is now, especially with I guess more barriers or challenges. But just being very open-minded and open-hearted would be my encouragement.
Awesome. Love that. Thank you. What about other folks? What would you recommend to adults?
I would recommend to like speak to the youth that they are around, because not all youth are the same. So it kind of like, I would say, depends on what type of like environment they're in, because if they want to like hear more from youth, they should speak to the youth that they're centered around.
Great. Love that.
I would recommend that they be more open-minded and take in what other youth say instead of just going with their own thoughts, because a lot of adults do that. They don't care what young people have to say because they feel like they already been through that and they know the answers to it. But yeah, I think they should be open-minded more of the young youth.
That's good advice. And honestly, I'm just thinking back to like moments that I've done that, if I'm being real. And so I appreciate you all just naming it and calling all of us out in this and holding us accountable. So it's just really helpful reminder to hear that from you. So I appreciate that. Octavious, were you going to say something? I thought you were unmuted for a second there.
Yeah, I was. I was going to say, I think it does need to ask for youth opinion more, because that's all we really got. It's our opinions. Because if we really express ourselves and we say what we really mean, it's disrespect. So we can really tell how it is, like an adult would tell another adult how it is, and they would say like, oh yes, that's true. But if we do it, we out of line, it's disrespect. So I feel like instead of y'all pushing us out, just listen to us, yell us out, because y'all used to be kids once in your life. Y'all did what we did. We just learn from example. Like it said, what monkey sees, monkey do. Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's good advice. And again, the reminders that we do have to take those moments to listen and really ask for that feedback. I do want to ask, so everybody from St. Paul Youth Services, you talked a little bit about when an adult isn't getting it right. And we're curious because we do have adults on this call. Just thinking about when they're not getting it right, what are some ways to maybe offer them feedback? If you had any experiences doing that, what worked and were they receptive of that feedback? And Walter too, if you've had any experiences with that, but Kyra, go ahead.
I actually had experience on like a teacher when she was like saying something about a student. I actually went up to the teacher and I was talking to her about it, and I'm like, I actually told her to look at the student because the student had her head down and stuff. I'm like, I told her to look at her. I'm like what if that was your daughter? Like I was talking to her, like, if that was your daughter, how would you feel? You won't like nobody doing that to your daughter. And I was like, you're supposed to be an adult, you're supposed to be a teacher helping the students out instead of talking about them. You could have went to her and go help her. She took it very well. She was like, I see where you're coming from. I'm going to apologize, because she knew that the student heard her. So she was like, I'm going to apologize and I'm going to work on it. I was like, okay. So I felt better, like for me to go stand up for the student, and knowing that it was an adult, I was still scared, but I did it because it was like, I'm like, I have to.
Yeah, that's amazing. I just want to give you props for doing that, because that is scary. And the fact that you kind of called her in like that and just shared what was going on, I think is amazing. And what a good opportunity for her, that teacher, to learn too. So I appreciate you sharing that. What about other folks? Have you ever had a moment where you've had to kind of, let an adult know that this wasn't working, or what they were saying or doing wasn't helping? And what was their reception of that?
Yeah, it's a lot of it's a lot of people that actually not saying this, but also family demonstrate the same thing as a stranger does. So I feel like sometimes you gotta check the people that you with, like the family, because you with your family every day, and you can run away from that because that's family. But some strangers, you could just walk away from it. So I feel like for me, I usually check my mom boyfriend, because sometimes he step out of line, and for me, I'm not the type of person I like to just tweak or just blot out without giving a reason or things like that. So sometimes I feel like I gotta pull some adults in line. Let's just say that, some adults in line, because if adults are like a kid, I'm gonna treat you like a kid.
Yeah, I get that. I appreciate that. Again, it takes courage to do that. So I appreciate that you sharing it too. Walter, had you unmuted too? Were you going to share anything about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to share about how like I suppose that's how the work that like Bridgemakers does. It got started with we wanted to start with sharing some of our work and our experience at our school with the board of directors. We wanted more challenge and stronger opportunities to be able to do more with our voice. So we really just encourage a lot of intergenerational mentorship in the sense of like being able to not just be like, hey, what can your voice be used for, but what can I learn from you? What can you learn from me? And I suppose I encourage to contact Bridgemakers, the specialty that we do. And so I just want to emphasize that.
Appreciate that. That's great. And at the end, we will, I believe, share contact information. So Heidi, there will be a follow-up email if you want to get in touch with our presenters today. So one of the questions that came in via the chat, and Jamya, I'd love to hear what you think about this, as well as everybody else, but do you think student councils are an effective way to meaningfully involve students in making change in their school? And if not, do you have any recommendations on other effective ways to do that?
Yes, I think student councils are an effective way to get students involved at making changes in schools. I would say one group that I'm involved in at school is the youth equity team, and it started, well, I joined this year, and we have been just trying to get like more like students involved in our school, because our school is, I go to Washington Tech, and it's 6 to 12. So it's kind of like a bridge between the middle schoolers and the high schoolers. So we're just trying to find a way to like mend it all together. And there has been like a lot of people joining the equity team. So I think student councils and like student groups are a good way to get everyone like in the community involved.
Awesome, thank you. If anybody else wanted to mention anything about that or have any examples of other ways to engage students.
I feel like advisory is the best, because when let me just say, when I go to advisory, I feel like I'm open, because it's just RA. I'm open up, and everybody that I know got the same, not the same experience, but they got the same movement as me. Say like whatever coming up, like the Black Lives Movement, they on that same topic, same thing. I feel like advisory is the best place to really pull people in, so actually for them to really express themselves.
That's great. Thank you, Octivious, advisory and councils. Appreciate that. Walter, I do have a question for you. Yes. So in the talk, you mentioned wanting to break cycles of miseducation as part of the mission of Bridgemakers. Can you share a little bit about what those cycles actually are?
Of
miseducation, yeah.
Yes. So we really just believe that the education system isn't really building up our young people as well as they could be. As we know, there's a huge achievement gap in Minnesota, one of the largest in the countries. And so through the sense of, I also do want to share just the work that Bridgemakers is doing with 3 alternative schools. We really believe in that sense that there's different ways of learning. In the sense, we're working with the high school for recording art, who is really focused on project-based learning, to speak about a solution to break those cycles, to the topic of today, youth voice, and putting the student at the epicenter makes education just much more easier. I currently am a student at the high school for recording arts and exploration, and we work with PYC on our side as well. But back to the question, those cycles, I just believe it has to do with a lot of how the school, it very much interacts with the students, on the sense of not listening to their voice, just teaching them a bunch of things that wasn't even discussed about what they would like to learn. In my case, and maybe others can believe this as well, but a lot of, I can say, like, my history, my culture, a sense of wasn't shared within the school walls. Or I can just say to prepare students for after school. You know, it very much has to do with, like, with financial skills, being able to start a business, learning more about trades and so forth. But I don't want to ramble. Yeah.
No, that's great. Thank you. One thing a thread I'd like to go off of based on what you were saying, and all of you talked about really, and for the SPYS, you all talked about making sure you feel listened to. And I want to know, how do you know that you're being listened to? What things do you observe, feel, witness? Like, just for the adults in the room, how do you feel listened to? Because we can say that, but we want to make sure we're actually doing it. So what are the ways that actually, an adult is actually listening to you?
I can actually answer that.
Yeah.
About actions. Action shows. Words is just words. But if your action shows what you're doing, and you say what you're doing, if you let me put it this way: practice what you preach. That's practice what you preach.
Perfect. Thank you.
I agree with Octavious.
You agree with Octavius? Yeah. I think that's great. Practice what you preach. It's so simple. It's so, getting to that action piece too. And Walter and Jamya, if you wanted to add anything to that, because let's say somebody's not acting right away. They're not, able to do something right away. Do you still feel like you're listened to? Or are there other indicators that the adults on the call today can kind of make sure they're implementing when they're working with young people? Or maybe, go ahead.
Sorry, I feel like there's other indicators. Some people probably aren't able to, I feel like people aren't able to make a switch in a day. Change can't happen overnight. They have to think about how they're gonna go about it. So ways I feel like I've been listened to is just if a person, first of all, if a person is asking for advice, I feel like I've been listened to because they're starting to make a change because they care about what your opinion or what you have to say. So I feel like that's the first step of being listened to. And then second is just simply seeing if they're trying, because I feel like you can kind of tell if what you said went through one ear and out the other to a person, or if they're actually sitting and processing what you're saying and your ideas and your thoughts that you're telling them.
Oh, that's great. That's actually really helpful. Thanks, Jamya.
Would I be able to jump into this question?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, please. 100%.
Okay, but I really just want to, because this was a very critical reason and a very important role that took place during our UI campaign that helped us lead $30 million back to the young people in our country. I have to say, being very, not forceful, but demanding, in the sense of what actual change in youth voice means. Let's be honest, a lot of times in history, a lot of change didn't really come just from, peace and stuff like that. A lot of it came from demanding things, really pushing and making sure that that was emphasized and brought to the epicenter. So I really just want to say that it really is gathering the student voices, gathering those numbers, getting people to continue to push and to be persistent. In the sense, as I mentioned, history has changed because people have demanded it to change.
Absolutely. Thank you, Walter, for adding that. I do have a question for you that came into the Q&A. Are there, you talked about the unemployment insurance work, and just thank you for the work that you all did to make that happen. That was huge. Are there any other policy issues that Bridgemakers is going to be working on at the legislature, if there's any happening right now, or as you're looking at session for next year as well?
We are actually working on juvenile justice at the moment. We're working on a project that is working with a lot of inner city students on helping them like redesign what the system and how the approach for young people is before they even could step to being near that to affect their lives, in the sense of we really want to make new pathways and opportunities to be able to push our young people in that direction.
Great, thank you.
We are also exploring options as we continue to see what the community is shifting in.
Awesome, thank you. So get connected with Bridgemakers if you're interested in learning more and supporting some of the policy efforts.
Please
do. Put in that plug, yeah. Great. And then I'm just watching time, but I want to ask our SPYS folks, just thinking about the work that you've done with SPYS and Youth Power Minnesota, I'm just curious if you can talk a little bit about how that work has shaped you and if it's influenced what you see yourself doing kind of personally or professionally in the future.
I feel like the work that I've done, like so far with Youth Power, has helped shape me a lot, because I feel like before I started when I was 13, so I was kind of, still young. So before that, I feel like I hadn't really thought about a lot about policies and stuff like that. So when I first got into Youth Power, I didn't really know what it was about, to be honest, because I got in, my sister told me to join because she was there for me. So when I first started, I really didn't know what we're doing, but now I have a lot of more information about myself and about policies and about how I want to make change in my own way through Youth Power. So I feel like it's helped me learn how to use my voice and how to speak out more.
That's awesome. Kyra, how about you?
I feel like Youth Power helped me a lot. We did this thing with another, I think it was a zoo. We had built the canoe. We woke up early every morning. I'm like, okay, I'm not a really morning person, but it helped me because in the future, I'm gonna have to be a morning person when I work and stuff. And when I go to college, I'm gonna have to get up. So it really helped me with that. And when we do our canvas and stuff, it helps me and make posters because I want to be a business. I'm going to school for business management and I want to be a businesswoman. So I can make my own posters instead of paying somebody else to make my posters and stuff. I can promote for myself on social media. And I know how to grab people's attention because we work on what people like, what time they look at our statuses and everything. Yeah. So I feel like it helped me a lot. And it helped me a lot. I think I joined when I was 14. I'm now 17. And I feel like it helped me improve so much, made me become more mature because I used to be, I didn't be this mature, but yeah.
That's awesome. I see Dr. Asbury chuckling over there. That's amazing though. I'm really just pleased to hear that it has impacted you both so much. And Octavious, I would love to hear from you as well.
Well, I said, Youth Power is actually a wonderful place. If you, I don't know, I was a playful kid until I end up in Youth Power. Mr. Andre Jordan actually recommended it for me because I was a troubled kid. I had some issues with learning, with behavior. So when I got to Youth Power, it straightened me out, and I became who I am today because of Youth Power. I became strong. I became a Black leader, and I want to keep pushing so I can see the future. And the future, so I can help the future kids.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. Walter, really quickly too, I kind of want to ask a similar question, but I'm just curious, what is in store for Bridgemakers and or for you as you think about your leadership and kind of what's next?
I appreciate the question. And I've just enjoyed this whole event tonight. It's been very beautiful. Bridgemakers is actually looking to keep up the momentum that we've had over the past year. We really want to continue to elevate that youth voice. We're launching a national summit in the summer. We want to invite youth from across the country as we're looking to build our national movement to transform education. And as I've just been speaking all night, to elevate our youth voice, to shape the future of our country. We're also going to continue our work with the schools. And to be honest, one of the biggest things that we're working on right now is showing the world the work that we've done. It's new, the work that we do in the sense of youth leading it directly. We're very proud to say that we are the community that we serve. And we're working on a lot of videos and content that we want to put out to the community as well. And anybody on this call, very excited and happy to explore partnerships or just like connections.
Perfect. Thank you all. Well, I just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to all of you for being here tonight, for answering the questions, for sharing your stories, and just keeping it real with us too. I definitely forget these things at times and just appreciate the reminder, and I'm sure everybody else on this call does too. So thank you. I want to encourage our audience members to get in contact with you all, the work that you're doing, and I know Heidi will be sending out an email afterwards with where the recording is and ways to stay in touch, follow the work you're doing, and get involved as well. So thank you, and please thank our panelists for the great work that they're doing. I have a couple of closing comments, so I hope that you don't jump off and bear with me just for a few minutes. But I want to let you know that super exciting. We have our next Ed Talks on June 22nd. So you can see our speakers there. You're going to get more information via email. So we hope that you join us then. And again, we're going to be sending the links to tonight's recordings, any resources that were mentioned, and then the great things that our presenters are doing. So look out for that. And again, check them out online and make sure to follow the work that they're doing. In that email, you're also going to get the link to the Ed Talks library that we mentioned. So there have been 9 seasons that we've done so far. So lots of things for you to check out. You'll get that. And again, everything is located on achievetwincities.org /Ed Talks. So check out what's been done so far, and then the podcast that you can access on SoundCloud. So all the information is on your screen there. And again, I want to just thank our awesome, generous funder, Bush Foundation. Thank you for making this possible. These are amazing conversations, and we are just grateful for your support. I also want to encourage you to connect with the event partners. So as you know, Achieve Twin Cities and Citizens League, they're doing amazing work. I'm a huge fan of both organizations, so do check them out, follow them on social media, and stay in touch with the work that they're doing. And on behalf of the Ed Talks team, I want to thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We appreciate you, and we hope to see you again soon. Have a wonderful night, everyone, and stay well.